On Point Politics, you are on the air. Are you there?
Hey, what's up, Rob? How you doing?
Hey, there you are. Doing well, doing well. I think that I feel like you probably know the question, but I'll ask it
Yeah.
anyways. What are your biggest points of confidence and concern about the 2024 election for Donald Trump? Because I feel like I'm more confident now. But what exactly is driving the confidence, and where are the caveats to that?
Okay, so my confidence when it comes to the 2024 presidential election, I mean, the polling data, I don't think people realize how ridiculously good the polling data looks. Like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, yeah, he's ahead, but he's ahead. He's never been ahead
That's
in
true.
Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania before. He's never been ahead this much in a place like Nevada. Like, the fact there's even a plus 13 poll out of there is absolutely ridiculous for Biden. Like, that is extremely abysmal. And so the polling looks extremely good for him. And the problem with Biden is that, just like Lalo says, he has no riz whatsoever. Like, there is nothing that Biden can basically attack Trump on. Every single issue, Trump could hit him back with a realistically good response. So I can't see how the debates help Biden, because it's not like 2020 where everybody's so sad all the time and you had the BLM riots and you had the coronavirus. We're going into a very different national environment this time. And so I'm extremely confident that Donald Trump is winning the election. My latest forecast model has Donald Trump winning with 320 electoral votes to Biden's 210. He picks up the swing states very easily. He gets Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania by like 6 to 9 points. He gets Georgia and Arizona by like 6 or 7, and he gets Nevada by about like 8. And if you actually look at the current polling and you apply like polling errors from like 2020, they're like somewhat within range with my model, and that goes for like most of the states. And so that basically has him picking up the states he
So
lost. He picks up Nevada, and he picks up Minnesota and New Mexico.
So the point of okay, that's a big one too, and I mean we still haven't seen any polling from New Mexico. I'd love to see. I've said that for the past couple weeks. I don't know when we're going to get one, but in terms of the confidence, you're right. I agree. Not only is he up, he's up by a lot. He's up in states Republicans thought they never were going to win again. He's outside of
Yeah,
the margin of error in some of them.
yeah,
Florida, Texas, all the hopes for Biden in those states. Now he can't even focus on Georgia and Arizona because he knows that those are probably a waste of time. He's not campaigning much. When he is campaigning, he's making a fool out of himself, and he's the one
yeah.
outside the basement now. So there's a lot to look at that's good. And in terms of the charisma as well, he doesn't have the Riz factor. He doesn't have the X factor. Trump from behind can manipulate the media. He can do anything possible just because he has this unique ability to kind of claw his way back from anything. Biden doesn't really have that ability that we've seen so far. And it's going to take a lot for him to do that because he's in the opposite position that Trump was in 2020, and that's being generous, very generous to Biden. But still, in terms of the point of concern, though, what would you say that the number one point of concern would be? Because while it looks good, sometimes things that look good can easily be too good to be true. And I think we need to stay on watch about that and not be super complacent about it.
Okay, so I said that there's still statistical chance he can win. I think anywhere from like 270 electoral votes, so literally just like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and then like 281 with all those plus Arizona. I think that's probably a possibility, but I think it's very narrow that he actually gets that right now. I think Donald Trump at the very least wins with like 282, like getting Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada, and losing the Nebraska second, losing Michigan and Arizona. But I do say the biggest point of concern for me is actually Trump supporters not turning out, not necessarily the other side turning out in big numbers. And like half my comment section on my videos is, oh, well, I'm not turning out because they're going to rig the votes. They're going to have illegals
That's a
voting,
bad
which
mindset to have. And
that's a
that's why I
horrible
tell
mindset.
people like the Tim Pools, like all these people, stop running with this narrative. We can address the problems when we need, if we need to, but we need to not demoralize people because that's the main problem that
Yeah,
we
that is
have.
the That's a big problem. And you know what's funny? The voter right, you actually look at the polling now, Trump does better with registered voters than likely voters now. And I think the reason why that's happening is because we're actually going to see a way more MAGA electorate come out of the 2024 election compared to the past two cycles. And I think that now it's the more people turn out, the higher the turnout, the better it actually benefits Trump. Unlike last time where you kind of had this weird white suburbanite, coalition kind of come
Surge.
out for Biden, basically get him
Yep.
over the top by like 40,000 votes across three swing states. And you guys got to also understand something too. In 2016, Trump had a 37% approval rating. Clinton had a 42%
41,
approval
42.
rating.
Yeah. Um,
And Trump was able to win because of third party candidates. So it kind of, you could say that it brought her popular vote count down by around 3 percentage points. And I mean, the third parties combined for like 7% total. So if it weren't for third parties, Clinton probably would have won. And then in 2020, both candidate approval ratings went up. Biden was 9 points higher
yep.
than Clinton. Trump gained around 8 points. So the net increase in popularity with both candidates was a wash. So everybody should have expected a close race. People like LTE, oh, Biden's going to win Florida and Ohio's competitive. They have to be the stupidest people in the world because you just based on their approval ratings, you would have known that it was a competitive election. But now
Yeah.
Trump's gone down like 2 points and Biden's fell like 12.
And they're so
So
smug too, and that's another thing. And they weren't like this in many cases before the midterms. But
no, they weren't.
all these people, all these headlines we see from the liberal counterparts and everything like that. Oh, Trump is his campaign strategy is terrible. They don't even understand the underlying factors behind it. And I hope that the Biden campaign feels the same way. And the other thing I'll say, in terms of what you said about turnout is, yeah, I don't believe Biden's going to get anywhere close to 81 million. It's a very rare circumstance. Even if we say all the votes are real, whatever, it's a rare circumstance that would have got him there in the first place. COVID, a very politically active community at large, and you had the woke wave in COVID that was able to give Biden an advantage. He doesn't have either anymore.
Yeah.
Woke is winding down. It now hurts him. And on top of that, it helps Trump. It's socially acceptable to support Trump now, and it wasn't back then. And also, there's a lot of other issues like immigration. The main takeaway is, the midterms turnout was actually lower than it was in 2018. And that was before you had the mass mail-in system, everything. And Democrats still got less votes than Republicans in the midterms.
Well,
So, I mean, it's something we got to take into consideration.
Well, I think the reason why you kind of have, people, oh, well, the midterms, what if the polling error helps Democrats this time? That's if you look at the past midterm cycles with Donald Trump, all of the polling errors during the midterms or the House popular vote are very narrow and off years. And when they are actually, during election cycles, the House popular vote always tends to outperform Trump. And my friend Gold Crown Politics currently has it at around 4.5. And Donald Trump is leading the aggregate by like 1.5 to 2 points. So it kind of lines up with polling data as of right now. But also, too, you have very different coalitions. You think the black people that are going to vote for Trump now that are first time voters voted in 2022 for Dr. Oz? Like, you
Nope.
got to be
No way.
like, it's yeah, exactly. No way. Yeah,
But that's the
ridiculous.
thing is how many of them are there. I think that is the more important question, because you see they go to the hood, they interview all these people. Yeah, man, we love Trump. How many of them have voted before a period? How many of them get out to vote? Like, that's the main takeaway, and you just can't, register all these people and expect them all to vote for Trump either.
And here's the thing. I think that the polling error this cycle will more than likely be worse than 2020.
You think that Trump's going to do that much better?
I think the polling error is going to be a lot worse, because not only now do you not have the polling data taking into account the same white working rural voters that are in rural Wisconsin, rural Iowa, even in Michigan, Pennsylvania. The polling errors are always terrible there.
They are.
And you even see now Pennsylvania is Trump's best state. And a lot of people thought, oh, well, Trump looks like he might be poised to get Pennsylvania before Wisconsin and Michigan. Some people were saying that in 2020 because that's what the polling data reflected. We've seen this before.
Well, the
And
polls
then
there are
Wisconsin.
more accurate, usually, at least for the Trump races at the end of the day, too. That's important to note.
Yeah, and he's up by 2. And it's quite funny because, a month and a half ago, the state was actually the worst polling wise for Trump. And this guy, LT, oh, well, Biden's up by 5 in a new poll and all this stuff and whatever. And now he's leading by 2, and he is very quiet on that issue. I think that's pretty funny that he hasn't said a word about that. And
Yeah.
so
Well, I mean,
at this,
like even the donor map they like to use,
yeah,
it
they're like,
will
oh, well,
show,
Biden has more money than Trump. And
but
well,
not from individual donors in Eastern Pennsylvania. You have the biggest drop off in support for Biden. That possibly could mean that they're not, replicating their original strong support for him. I don't know, but also it's important to note that Biden raised so much money because of George Floyd, because of COVID, because of all these little things. Is Donald Trump's not giving them a lot of ammo. And obviously, I'm not saying that certain things can't happen because we know certain things will, but will they have the same effect? Is Biden going to, if BLM becomes a thing again, Biden doesn't benefit from it. If
no, he
America
does not.
burns under Biden and he's going to let it happen,
Yep.
that was an argument like a lot of people used to attack Trump from the right. And while I don't think it really benefited Biden, it might have made some people that were, wanted to support Trump or didn't like it, the BLM stuff, a little bit, questionable in their support. So that's another thing to take into consideration is, things going to shit under Biden make him look like shit because that's what he is.
I actually think the only thing that really doomed Trump that COVID year, the only reason why he lost the election was because of the economic downturn from the actual virus. It wasn't even the virus itself. It wasn't people dying. It wasn't the BLM rise. It wasn't any of that. The thing that did him in was the economic downturn from the coronavirus because he tried the economic card on Biden. And yes, it was effective, but it wasn't effective enough back then.
Yes, and that's
Wasn't enough.
another thing because when you have, and I'm one of the first people to say the 13 keys are not the best way to predict an election because they don't
Well,
fully gauge public opinion, but it
yeah,
is true that the importance of the issue did decline because, even though people I don't think blame Trump for the economy in full, he wasn't able to make it the number one issue because before COVID, without BLM, the number one issue was the economy, and no Democrat could effectively counter
no one,
Trump on the issue.
no
But
one.
still, our economy, besides the unemployment rate or whatever, which already was going down, it is worse now by most metrics than the economy was back then in terms of how fast the stock market's growing compared to inflation, inflation as a whole, wages, wage growth, new jobs, non-existent. So, and they're all going to illegals.
Well, the funny part about the 13 keys model is that if you actually look at it, it's more of a popular vote predictor, like a popular vote winner predictor than an actual election predictor. And for you guys saying, well, oh, he predicted Trump in 2016, this guy's on record saying he thought Trump was going to win the popular vote, and he didn't.
A lot of things
So
he said, yeah.
Huh?
He said a lot of things. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the important thing is that he said that Trump would struggle to get the nomination. He wanted Trump kicked off of the ballot with the Colorado case that the Supreme Court ruled 9-0. He said Trump would be impeached and removed if he won in 2016. That never happened. They did impeach him over nonsense, and he acted like, well, this does the scandal key, but in reality, does it really do the scandal key when Trump's approval goes up after? Like, I can't exactly say
no,
that it would. I think the guy's
I
just a
think this
partisan
year he
hack
can.
at this point.
I think this year he's going to be embarrassed. I think he's
Yeah.
seriously going to be embarrassed because the keys, the way he has them, doesn't make any sense. Oh well, Afghanistan wasn't actually a failure. Really?
Yeah, well, that's the thing that sunk Biden's approval rating in general.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like, even me, if I was him, I would simply make that key, true just because of or false, just because of the fact that his approval rating, that's what dipped his approval rating.
Yeah.
So even if I, as the person, didn't think it was that bad. The fact his approval rating tanked after that should make the key false. Like, you're not going to dip 15 points in favorability in 3 months because of one issue that
It's
supposedly wasn't bad. Like,
public perception, and that's key. And one more question I'll ask you, because we do have a lot of people still waiting, is about the of the 7 key swing states. What would you say that is the most crucial, or the one that you have the most reservations about? Because you seem very bullish about Trump's odds, and you back it up with some pretty knowledgeable tidbits and election models and whatnot. But of the big 7, what's the one state you fear the most about? Is it Michigan? I assume it's one of the Rust Belt 3, and it seems like it's probably going to be Michigan or Wisconsin. What do you say about that?
The one that I fear the most is probably Arizona. You have
Really?
that Maricopa County. It's just growing too fast. Too many white suburbanites there that just vote for Democrats, even though they are Republicans, and they vote for the Secretary of State candidate by 10, but they somehow vote for freaking what was her name, Katie Hobbs. Like, come on, it's ridiculous. Like, how are you gonna vote Secretary of State Republican, but then vote Katie
Well,
Hobbs
it's a
Democrat?
midterm year, and I mean, I'm not as worried about Arizona as you are in that regard, but it is true that, it's not what it used to be. I'll say that. And I mean, we know how their elections, I think this time it's going to be run more smoothly. I'd like to hope, but I mean, we'll see. But Arizona, I mean, I think a lot of people actually probably share your opinion, despite the polling. But anyways, On Point Politics, thank you for coming on
Hey,
the stream. I
can I say one
appreciate
more
it.
thing?
Huh?
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, sure.
Can I get a shameless plug? I'm at 11.5K.
Sure, go for it.
All right, guys. So please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I literally hit 11K yesterday, and I'm already at 11.5K. So the
Those
past
are
few
big
days have
numbers.
been great. Yeah, so the numbers have been great. So literally just look up On Point Politics and you'll find me. It's On Point Politics with Lester Tellis. Do you mind if I link it in the chat, actually?
I mean, sure, go ahead.
Fine.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
thank you.
All
I
right. Yep.
appreciate
Thanks
it.
for coming on. I appreciate it.
All right, you're welcome.